call the meeting to order. And if everybody will stand and have a moment of silence, and we'll have our pledge of allegiance led by Audrey Neal.
Yeah.
There. Moment of silence, please. Thank you for that. Now we'll pledge.
If everyone will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please, have we already done it?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Did a good job, thank you, ma'am.
So, public input. Nobody?
Nobody has signed in. Nobody wants to
Okay,
sign.
we had somebody that was gonna come and speak, but I don't think kids able to make it. Alright, so then that brings us down to changes to the agenda, and there's a request to add a couple of field trips that are there in front of you. Dance team trip to Cookville and JROTC Cadet Leadership Camp, Whitesburg. Is there any opposition to adding those two to the consent agenda? All right, we'll consider that unanimous consent to add those two field trips. That brings us then to the approval of the agenda. Is there a move to approve the agenda? Bill has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Paul, second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approval of the agenda, show by raising your right hand. Got you. 6-4-0 against. Consent agenda items, you'll see the minutes from April 2nd and April 9th and overnight field trips. Is there a move to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Got a move from Doug to approve. Second?
I'll second.
Dawn, second. Any discussion?
Oh,
Oh, you ready to vote? Coach is on it. Thank you.
reflection slowly.
All right, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, right hand. All right.
Did I vote early? I'll just keep my hand up.
Pull that oxygen for me. I just picked.
You turn my oxygen off?
All right, consent agenda approved, 6-0. All right.
I'll catch up in a minute.
That brings us down into policy committee stuff, and I'll turn that over to Doug.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to pull one policy at the request of the policy sponsor. That would be the instructional program, policy 4.100.
And the request, and that go back to the policy committee?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So C on everything has been requested to be put back to the policy committee. All right.
And what we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 policies to do on first reading.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the first and third and final reading all at one time.
All of these? All right. Is there a second then?
Second.
But do you have to suspend the rules?
Yes, we have to suspend the rules. Yeah, you're right, I got it. And you want to do a motion to suspend the rules?
I make a motion to suspend the rules.
All right, Bill has made a motion to suspend the rules to pass A, B, D, E, F, G, H, I, all on first reading.
And final third.
First reading and final. All right, is there a second?
May I ask a question before I second?
Yes.
Okay, I would like, as policy the chairman to read the policies first, and then if the motion that just was made passes, automatically pass each one on first reading, rather than passing just as a group.
Yes,
Okay, then I second.
all right. Got Doug as a second on suspending the rules to pass all these on first and final read. Any discussion on that?
Second.
We got a second.
Oh, yeah.
Discussion. All right, all those in favor of suspending the rules to pass all of these on first and final reading, show by raising your right hand. All right, 6-4-0 against, so the motion to suspend the rules to pass all these, passes. So, I'll let Doug go through and
Okay.
read.
The first one we have is policy 1.804, alcohol and drugs in the workplace. This is a model policy sent to us by TSBA to comply with recent state legislation. It passed the policy committee 3-0, so moved to pass.
All right. We gotta move then, since it's coming from the committee, we don't need a second to pass 1.804 on first and final reading. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of passing 1.804 on first and final reading, show by raising your right hand. All right, 6-4-0 against, that one passes.
The next policy is policy 2.400, revenues. Again, this is a model policy sent to us by TSBA to comply with state legislation. Passed the policy committee 3-0, so moved for passage.
All right, motion's been made to pass 2.400 on first and final reading. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of passing policy 2.400 on first and final reading, show by raising your right hand. That is unanimous, 6-0.
And as mentioned, 4.100 instructional program has been pulled and will be sent back to policy committee. So the next one is policy 4.302, field trips, excursions, and competitions. This was requested modifications by Commissioner Mayor. And what it does is on page 2, section 4, lines 4 and 5, it adds, as you can see highlighted, the two words "and parents." And on page 3, it adds section 10 and 11. Section 10, parents may accompany their own student. These parents are not assigned supervisory duties. Parents may be required to pay their own expense and provide their own transportation to the event. And the next one was requested by Commissioner Hardy. Number 11, students with medical needs with a 504 plan and or individualized educational plan, IEP, shall be permitted but not required to have a parent/guardian on premise of these events to assist with medical needs. Director shall create a process to facilitate requests. This policy passed policy committee 3-0. So moved for passage on first and final reading, Mr. Chairman.
All right, motion's been made to pass policy 4.302 on first and final reading. Any discussion? Yes.
Chairman, I know that Dr. Arnold mentioned the parents don't play a role in chaperoning at all, correct? So, having a child with special needs, one of the things that comes to us is it's called a parent package G-tube for children that are tube fed. And I thought I'd seen this somewhere, and I just wanted to bring this to light, that the line in here, it says, provide invitation to parent guardian of the G2 to accompany their child on field trips in addition to being a chaperone. However, the student's attendance must not be conditioned on the persons of the parent guardian. They must comply with school policy. But they're not supposed to be chaperone, right?
They're with their own child, but not chaperoning and caring for other children. So you may see that word chaperone in whatever language you may see, but I want to make clear that we're not going to give someone else's, we're not going to give a student to a non-employee to be in charge of them.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that because that can be kind of misleading. It
Yes.
may be misleading for one of the educators or whoever's doing
Right.
the field trip, so.
Yes. Yeah, there was a ROTC's going on a field trip. It's sponsored by multiple agencies, and they have to have a female present. That female is not in charge of our students. She is a parent. She is present for compliance issues, but she's not taking supervisory duties on that field trip that ROTC is going on. They understand that, they're aware of that, and you know, that's another example of sometimes we have to have an adult that is a female, but they're not the supervisor of children.
Okay.
Yeah.
No further questions.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor then of passing policy 4.302 on first and final reading, show by raising your right hand. 6 to nothing, that policy passes.
The next policy is policy 4.502, parent and family engagement. This changes the words, or a parent on page 1, line 29. This passed the policy committee 3-0, so moved for passage.
All right, move's been made to pass policy 4.502 on first and final reading. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of passing policy 4.502 on first and final reading, show by raising your right hand. All right, looks like that's unanimous again.
The next policy is policy 5.800. This is a new policy modeled, come down from TSBA, again, to comply with new state legislation. Director of Schools passed the policy committee 3-0, so moved for passage, Mr. Chairman.
Move's been made to pass policy 5.802 on first and final reading. Is there any discussion on this one? Brand spanking new one. All right, hearing none. All those in favor of passing 5.802 on first and final reading, show by raising your right hand. All right, looks like that's unanimous again.
The next policy is policy 6.3101, dress code for grades 6 to 12. This was introduced by Commissioner Hardy. And what it does on page 1, lines 3 and 5, 3 through 5 have been modified to say considered to be in violation of the dress code. They were required to comply before being able to resume the normal school day. August 1 action will be recorded in the students' records. Also on page 1, line 9, hats / bandanas / hoods worn as a head covering. Under the following attire is considered to be inappropriate. So it would be hats / bandanas / hoods worn as a head covering. The next modification, page 1, line 10, adds to the existing verbiage, skin-toned leggings. The next modification, page 1, lines 14 and 15, it adds to the existing text, including fishnet material. Page 1, line 19, adds the words pajama-type pants, including costume-like onesies and bedroom slippers. This passed the policy committee 3-0, so moved for passage, Mr. Chairman.
All right, the move's been made to pass policy 6.3101 on first and final reading. Any discussion on that one? All right, all those in favor of passing policy 6.3101 on first and final reading, show by raising your right hand. All right, 6-0, unanimous.
The next policy is policy 6.4053, private duty nurses. This was introduced by Commissioner Hardy. It is a new policy, and I believe it was one that he pulled from the policy committee because our attorney, Mr. Bennett, said he had a policy that he thought would address the issue better. I believe Mr. Hardy contacted him, and I'll let Mr. Hardy take it from here.
All this policy does is just make sure that a private duty nurse is able to come to the school with a student that requires it, and also puts the limitations of using an MOU, and underneath the MOU, it also applies with the doctor orders and everything that's needed to prescribe a nurse to be able to attend with the child.
And this was discussed with our attorney. Dr. Arnold reviewed it, said he sees nothing wrong with it. It passed the policy committee 3-0, so move for passage, Mr. Chairman.
All right, move has been made to pass policy 6.4053 on first and final reading. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of passing policy 6.4053 on first and final reading, show by raising your right hand. 6-0, passes.
And our final policy to review is policy 6.411, student wellness. Again, this is the TSBA proposed model that complies with recent legislation. Passed the policy committee 3-0, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, move been made to pass policy 6.411 on first and final reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of passing policy 6.411 on first and final reading, show by raising your right hand. Another unanimous. All right. Tom, you got anything you want to add on in that budget amendment we'll be voting on, that budget amendment we'll be voting on?
No, I don't have anything, it's pretty general.
Okay. All right, no unfinished business then, so then that brings us down to the new business of the memorandum of understanding for mental health services, and I believe this covers 2 different companies, is that correct?
That's correct.
McNabb and Allied. All right, is there a move on this MOU?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Doug has made the motion to pass or accept the memorandum of understanding for mental health services for this upcoming year. There's a second?
Second.
Dawn, second. Discussion, Doug, you got anything?
I believe Mr. Hardy has something he'd like to say.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make an amendment.
You'd like to amend, all right, what is
I'd like to amend the MOU to include that the therapist, you fill out an information sheet to be kept at the school at which they are working, and to also include individually sign an MOU.
Okay, say that first part again. Sign what?
Sign an information sheet.
Sign like a personal information sheet?
Yes, it's basically a contact information sheet.
And MOU, individual MOU?
Well, they're signing basically the same MOU that the company does.
All right, move to amend the memorandum of understanding to have each, what are they, the counselor?
Yeah, I don't know. I think
Employee.
a counselor.
They're a
Another
school
name.
behavioral health liaison,
Behavioral.
SBBHL.
They have multiple people that work.
Okay, move to amend the MOU to have each behavioral health liaison sign a contact information sheet and individual MOU.
Yes.
All
Do
right,
we have anything about information sheet? Just general contact information for that employee?
Yes.
For that, they're not our employee, but,
So with the policy that we just passed on the private duty nurse, there was one section on it, on page 3, where
each private duty nurse will complete an information sheet which will be kept on file at school, attended by the private duty nurse's client in the school health services office. The information sheet will include necessary background information on private duty nurse, including but not limited to contact information, private duty nurse's employer, name of the individual who will fulfill the duties of the private duty nurse in the event the private duty nurse must be absent, and the schedule of dates and times in which the private duty nurse will be present at the school.
yes. And that's, I guess, supposed to be on, there's an information sheet. When I spoke with Mr. Bennett, the lawyer, and I explained to him, originally, I had tried to exclude that out of the policy. He said that was very important to keep in there, and that we should always have that, whether it be, and he even said behavioral health, anybody that is not employed by our school but works with the students should have that. So if they're working at the high school, they don't need to keep one central office someplace, they need to keep it at the high school. If there's somebody who works at a restaurant, that's where they need to have that, just in case there's ever an issue. Maybe law enforcement needs to get a hold of it or something like that. Maybe the person quits and there's an issue that comes up, they have that information. And well, that was fine. I mean, if that's what he felt was the best, he's our lawyer, with that recommendation. And he did say that that would be something that, I said, that's something that is not being done with our behavioral health. And he said we should be. So I feel that if he's recommending that to do that, that it should also be included in my MOU.
Let me get a, real quick, I'm gonna reread that again, if I need a second. Paul's made a move to amend the MOUs here to have each behavioral health liaison sign a contact info sheet and individual MOU. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
All right, Doug, second.
Mr. Chairman?
Hold on, do you got anything else you wanna add since you made the move?
The only other thing I gotta say about it is the second part of that is, I know that the private duty nurses, not only does the company sign an MOU, but there's also the private duty nurses themselves have to individually sign the MOU. So it's understood that they've read the MOU and they know all of the terms at which they're coming into our schools. And when I spoke with Mr. Bennett, he said it should apply across the table for anybody that comes in like that. So, he said if you're gonna do it for one, you have to do it across the board. And I would, I mean, I don't know if the director of special ed's here, but she can explain why or why it has to be done, I don't know.
I can tell you the difference between a private duty nurse is in the classroom setting with the student they are administering care to, and they have, same as any of our employees, they are privileged to information that falls under FERPA, and you know, they're gonna know just by being present that other students are, have disabilities, other students get disciplinary issues, other students, have multiple things that occur in the classroom on a daily basis that fall under FERPA. Whereas the reason we didn't put it in a, behavioral health is because that contract is entered between a parent and the mental health organization, and that service occurs in a private setting, excluding other students. So that's the difference in private duty nursing and behavioral health. We have lots of MOUs that occur. We have MOUs with the Sheriff's Department. You know, we have agreements with all kinds of people on staff of, you know, HVAC, all kinds of things that people come in, but we do not sign. We do not have other agencies besides that private duty nurse sign that, and that's strictly for FERPA violation issues.
But these other entities don't have direct contact, say like an HVAC person with our students, where an ABA therapist, I would think, does. And, you know, if a therapist sees a student and for some reason no longer does, they still know a lot about that student. They also have the ability to talk to other people about specific things about that student. I just think that the information is still there. You know, if a nurse sits in a class, and there's 25 kids, if a therapist goes down and walks through the lunchroom, there's 125 kids. I don't think there's really much of a difference.
Yeah, I can tell you that our Sheriff's Department does not sign it. And our sheriff signs that as an elected official on behalf of his department. That SRO has 1,000 times as much knowledge about our students as any, sometimes as anybody else in the school besides probably our principal and our counselor. But, you know, that's just where that stands and why we don't, because that sheriff, as the head of that department, signs that agreement.
When I spoke with Mr., I'm just going by the recommendation of Mr. Bennett. It's a pleasure to the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just for clarification. So your motion is to have our behavioral health counselors provide the same information as our private duty nurses
Correct.
on the questionnaire and on the MO, on signing the MOU. So it would be pretty much the same vehicle that would be used for both.
Correct.
Just a clarification.
Do we not have all this information in the central office?
We do know who is, yeah, we know who the mental health liaison is.
Are we in
Absolutely.
order as a school board member to step ahead of you and talk to the lawyer, or is it your responsibility to talk to the lawyer first?
Yeah. I don't, I mean, that's up to, I think any board member has the ability to reach out to the board attorney as needed. I have provided that service for each of you through a MOU and a contract with the board attorney, that there is no hourly rate that is charged to a board member for reaching out to the board attorney. So I want each of you to have the, opportunity to be able to do that as you see necessary.
Could an individual, records request and get this information? My question is, well, basically, is where is this information going to be, and who has access to it? Say,
Yeah.
I don't mind the contact and stuff, but I think the security, that you got somebody that you got this information on, and somebody like a parent gets a hold of it, that shouldn't have that information. So, once this form is filled out, what will it be, and who will have access to it?
So by law, any form outside of school safety and security and a few minor other forms that, I don't know if we redact any information on it. That would be a question for the board attorney. I can't answer that now, but I know that any form we have is, can be accessed by records request.
So this could be,
Could be, yes,
somebody make a request
yes,
and get that information sheet for that person
yes.
and be able to contact them on their own.
Yes,
I don't know, but we'll have to make it more secure than that.
Well, but I'm just, like, this is,
Yeah,
this
I
goes by what the
no, I
private duty
understand.
nurse does.
Good idea, but
And-
we gotta protect, the other person too, and their private information. I would, if it was me, I would not want to be getting a call from a parent, how did you get my number?
right.
Where'd you get this information, Yeah,
Yeah.
and, there's a chain of command.
Yeah, in a student with special needs that has special ed services, that has a certain provider, may fall under different rights. So if they have a private duty nurse, they probably have a 504 IEP, and we may not disclose that information as that is a part of their student record. So that would fall under a different, private duty nurse would fall under a different protection
Right.
than a behavioral health liaison working in our schools record. So that's very identifiable. We don't disclose records that identifies another student or their disability. Whereas, a private duty nurse is working with one student, whereas a mental health liaison is working with 50 or more students, and by giving their information, wouldn't identify another student or their disability. So we would not disclose I would not disclose unless it was a court order.
Mr. Chair? Could I move to put this off until we check with Mr. Bennett to find out if the behavioral health form, the information on the behavioral health form would be accessible by public record? I myself, again, and I'm no attorney, I don't see why if somebody is working with someone's behavioral and mental treatment, that's any different than someone who's working with someone's physical or handicap treatment,
It's a part of a student record,
right?
whereas a private duty nurse is through their IEP and a part of the student's record.
Right.
Whereas a mental health behavioral liaison is not a part of a student record. And it's not identifiable to the student or their disability at any means. So You know, we don't disclose that information. I would not disclose that information. If someone called me tomorrow and said, hey, I want to know such and such as private duty nurses, I'm like, you're not privy to that student's informational record.
Yeah, I understand that.
So,
But if someone if somebody from Helen Ross McNabb or Allied is counseling a kid on some issue, all right, the parent has to give the approval for that to happen. The parent can be at those meetings as the MOU states out. And those meetings are in private. I'm just wondering if the parent knows who's doing the counseling because they said, I allow you to do this, where the danger would be for somebody wanting that information. Is there any way that certain information, maybe like phone numbers, you know, things like that, maybe the contact information would be the McNabb phone number or the Allied phone number, where it's not someone's personal phone number where they can call that person up specifically. Then Allied could decide on their end as the contractor if they want to give that out. I do think we should have some kind of contact information here on people who have contact with the kids, but maybe not to the point where somebody can call somebody at home at 9 o'clock at night and start quizzing them on something. Maybe the contact would be Allied or McNabb at such and such a time between the hours of what and what, you know.
Chain of command.
Yes, yes. So I would have no problem with forming out a form, but I would strike any kind of like address. I think the address and the personal information or the contact information should be through the agency paying that person, all right? And I would have no problem with that, but I think we should have some kind of contact information on site for at least a name, you know, and then maybe do it through the agency. I don't have any problem with that.
So are you asking to be able to lay this on the table, the whole all the MOU?
Well, if Mr. Hardy agrees with my rationale about the information going through the actual agency providing the service, I would not want to lay this on the table. I would just ask him if that would be satisfactory. If not, if he would like the actual personal phone numbers and addresses of the counselors, then I think we need to find out from Mr. Bennett if in fact that can be accessed through a information request.
Can I ask a question about this? If I was to remove my motion about the information and still we could talk to Mr. Bennett, still pass the MOU?
Speak to that, I can't understand the word you're saying.
If I was to withdraw my motion about the information, so they could still be passed, would we be able to still check with Mr. Bennett? Because if he says, you know what, maybe you're right, and we don't need to do that kind of information. But if he says, you know what, we really need to, maybe we keep only this kind of information, can we amend the MOU if there is a change needed to do that?
Once it's been passed.
Once it's
So we need to lay it on the table and then pick it up next month.
Well, point of order.
Yes.
You could withdraw your amendment. That's what you're asking, right?
Yes.
But the main motion staying there. The correct terminology, to lay something on the table is that you're gonna come back to it at the end of the meeting.
Postpone.
So is to postpone
postpone.
to us, like the next meeting.
Yeah.
Say, and you could do that.
My suggestion would be to, if we have two questions and they're both tied up in the same motion, I would feel more comfortable postponing it, getting the answer, and then coming back and passing or not passing, you know, both issues.
I think you need to talk with exact language.
Yeah, and just know, we can get a hold of anybody that you want to get a hold of in a few minutes, whether that's the mowing company, whether that's the HVAC, whether that's the mental health behavioral liaison. We have that information. We just don't have an information sheet on file that has that information for someone to request and to get that information. But, if they call me and say, hey, I've got an issue with the mowers, I'm not gonna give you Ricky's name that was mowing and tell you to call him. I'm gonna give you the name of the company and have you reach out to them. And we've had that happen. Someone's called and said, hey, I was passing by Patriot Academy and a rock hit my car. Here's the company name, here's the phone number, you'll have to reach out to them. Even though we know Ricky and could give his cell number, that's not what we do. But we have everyone's information that is at our school, providing that service for mental health.
So I'll go ahead and withdraw
The amendment,
the amendment.
Doug, you all right with that?
Yes.
All right then. So then that brings us back to the original motion was to pass the mental health services.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would move to postpone till the next meeting, next business meeting, to allow discussions, further discussions on, the issues that might affect us.
And that'd be the June.
June.
So June.
It goes in effect at the end.
Okay, is there a second on that then?
Second.
Should.
Second. Anything on the move to postpone?
Mr. Chairman, when does the date run out on this?
July 31st.
June 30th.
Will we be covered on this if we don't have it, if we don't pass it tonight? Will we have any?
So our next meeting is June the 4th.
Yes.
So we just need to execute contracts.
Anything else? All right, Doug moved postpone the MOU till June 4th. Donald seconded. All those in favor of postponement, show by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-1 to postpone to June 4th. No more new business.
No, may I ask what information's gonna be asked and who's gonna ask it?
Well, I think you need to communicate to Tommy what you want, and then let him get in touch with, Mr. Bennett, and I think we need to see exact language in there.
Could we have this put on the works, is that the work session or is that the business
It's
session?
a business.
Could we have this
We can add it to like work session.
added to the work session?
Yeah. So just, remember, anything that's under new business will be on the work session, just like, this MOU was on the work session, prior to this meeting.
Any new language will be added, and you'll see it at the work session,
Okay.
and then that give you time to mull it over.
I think on our business agenda, it would come back under unfinished business.
Yes, sir.
Right, okay.
All right, that cost it there. All right, last thing here, budget amendments, we have, general fund 141, number 19, items 1 through 4. Is there a move on this budget amendment?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Doug has moved to pass the budget amendment for general fund 141, number 19, items 1 through 4. Is there a second?
Second.
All seconds. Is there any discussion on this budget amendment? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approval of budget amendment for general fund 141, number 19, items 1 through 4, show by raising your right hand. All right, 6-0, unanimous. All right, school commissioner input. Yes, sir, Doug.
Just a couple quick reminders. The special call policy meeting is on Wednesday, May 13th, here at 5:30. I would strongly request that policy committee members be familiar with the existing policy as well as the suggested modifications that will be sent to you. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of discussion, and the more familiar you are with what we're going to be discussed, the shorter the meeting is going to be. Also, we have a joint conference committee meeting Thursday, May 21st, here at the courthouse. Usually it's at the Patriot Academy. It will be here at the courthouse this time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What time is it, 6?
At
6:30.
Any other commissioner input?
I just have a question. The teachers and employees and staff, their health insurance is covered, it's paid for by the school district, correct?
Employee portion, yes.
Employee portion. If there's an employee that says, I don't, maybe they're married, husband, or their spouse has really good insurance and they just don't feel the need, are they able to be compensated because they are not taking?
No, I don't believe that's not an allowable, so we can't compensate an employee to not take benefits. Jesse could probably speak more on that than me, but that's not an allowable.
It's not. That's asked all the time on the county side, especially as I interview new people, because they just want more take-home pay. But we cannot do that. So it's same on the school side. We can't bump their pay because they're not taking one of the benefits that we're offering.
Can I ask why? Like, I mean, is there a law, or is there?
I do not have that written down if there is a law. I just know I checked with our county attorney on behalf of the county end of it, and it's not in our policies at this point.
I don't remember what it's called, but there is a,
You can't offer more pay in lieu of insurance. I
Yes.
do know that because I've also checked on it
there's a
for
law on it, I can get that.
another entity, and I don't have it off the top of my head. I don't mind researching it, but I don't have it here
I'd
with
just
me.
be interested in,
Doug?
I just didn't know, that's why I was asking, I'm not trying to put you in.
We would never know how to budget at that point then, because if we're budgeting for insurance and then they end up taking more salary, we would have to shift budgets constantly at that point.
Is our insurance covered by like a large blanket, basically? I mean, like, do we pay the same amount?
Medical,
If there's
for
1,100
medical insurance.
Yeah, if there's, say, 1,100 or 11, is that different than?
There's different tiers that they can choose. So it kind of depends, like I for one have my son covered, so I'm covered, but I opt for a higher monthly payment because I want a lower deductible and out of pocket. So it's really up to the employees as to what they want to choose. They can choose family coverage or whatnot. We cover the employee portion. And as they add, let's say they add a child or a spouse or something, there is a percentage that we do cover. They don't cover that all on their own, so.
Yeah, and I personally, I mean, it's my duty to do what's in the best interest of employees, and I would never want an employee to waive their benefits to take home, $400 more a month, and then have some accident that cost them $400,000 over, you know, I mean, it sounds like a good thing today, but tomorrow you'll regret it.
We do have employees that are covered by their spouse elsewhere, but they also take advantage of ours, and ours is kind of a secondary insurance to them to pick up co-pays.
Just, and I know a lot of things in corporate America are different than, you know, the public facilities, but we had this question come up a number of times in corporate America, and I believe there are precedents, legal precedents, where if this was brought, I think all the way to the Supreme Court, I can't cite the case, where the Supreme Court says, no, if you are offered group insurance, which is what we have, you know, you cannot single yourself out from that group because you're part of the group, and the pricing was made based on you being in that group.
Okay.
So there was no way to determine what it's worth, really, to an individual.
All right, any other input?
Just wanted to let you know that we met today with at the finance department on abatement. Bids came in and for Jefferson Elementary School. Kind of an estimate we had for the abatement of that school was $283,000. The low bid came in from a very reputable company out of North Carolina at $143,000. I'm sure Jesse's cringing over there because there was some other dollar amounts in there, like $243,000 or $143,300 or something, but just for rough numbers, roughly $140,000 under the estimated amount that was initially proposed. So we had 4 companies that bid on it, so that was a good showing.
And was there an anticipated date to begin?
So in the contract, it stated a June 1st start with a July 17th completion date. The company that came in on the low bid said they are at the University of Tennessee doing a big project, and they plan to begin work, I believe that was June the 8th. June 8th. But they had a 4-week timeline that would meet the completion date.
They would start June 8th.
That's what they, yes. They said they may, bring some stuff in or something, but it's a June 8th start date.
Anything else? All right, there a move to adjourn? Dawn jumped on that one. Paul, are you gonna second that one?
I will.
All those in favor to adjourn, so go raise your right hand. I'll take that as a
I'm sorry I didn't vote.
Oh, all right.